Hey YouTube, it's your beekeeper here. I'm going to work today on getting this bike not have such a gangster lean. It's on level ground right now, and boy has that got an angle to it. I just got done doing the clutch. I went ahead and replaced, I mentioned in a previous video, I wanted to replace the incandescent, the flasher relay that worked for the incandescent bulbs. So I replaced it with a 2-blade adjustable LED thing relay, and I've got it set for about a flash a second. Beautiful. That thing can go to super hyper speed or like one. Ooh, see, it's actually, oh, this bike sits way low. Anyhow, I did the relay. The relay was super easy. It's underneath here, direct swap, easy peasy. I did the clutch. Clutch is going to be in the video just before this one, and today we're going to do the last of what's on the punch list for this thing, and hopefully will be the last thing for a while, and I can get some enjoyment out of it. Not that I haven't enjoyed it up to this point, but I've always had those other fixes on my mind, and maybe now we can just get into what would be considered just preventative maintenance, keeping the fluids clean, tires checked, brakes fair, you know the deal. But let me show you what I've done to figure this one out. So a little recap if you're new to this 1994 DR650 work. The previous owner to me had lowered the suspension on it. He dropped about 1 3/4 down in the front by sliding the tube up, and he came back here and took the, where is it? I can't get you from this side. Hold on, let me go to the other side. He came and he took the preload out of the rear suspension. Took these two, they're actually two spanner nuts that have to be tightened with a spanner. They lock each other in to hold it in place. He had this slid all the way up here, which is about 1.5 inches, all the way to the edge of the threads. So I ran it down there, and it's at its suspension height. It's perfect stock suspension height, which is perfect for me and my inseam. But what he did after lowering it was he cut some length out of the kickstand, because obviously when you lower this thing, you put the stand down, it'd probably flip it over. So I tried different things, 2x4s, some 1xs, and I settled with a slug. I just put a deadbolt in a door. This is 1 3/4, and that apparently is the height I need to add to this. I'll put that under there and I'll show you what the bike looks like. I think 1 3/4 is fair. That puts it at a reasonable angle of the dangle there, because clearly less was going to fall over if I ever parked with that on the downhill side. And in my area I got lots of hills, so I needed to kick it up. So I'm going to go that thickness, between 1 1/4 or 1 3/4 and 2 inches. I think 2 inches might be a little, that extra 1/4 inch might make it tricky, but I'm going to go ahead and put it on the jack and pull this thing off, and I'll show you what my game plan is. That doesn't look factory. But there is a hole in here, which is nice. I'm going to peek in there with the flashlight and see if they just butt welded that on there or if they sleeved it. I don't know. Got a little wear there where this pad has kind of been ground out on the pavement, so I'm going to hammer that flat again and then fill that thin spot with some weld, you know, kind of beef up that pad a little bit, and then figure out what's going on with this. So let's do this before I get crazy. This is a scientific method here. I'm going to go by the heel. I'm going to call this the heel of this little pad. Like, I don't know, right about there. 11 1/8. Or if we go, maybe, let's see, we go to the edge of the chingy there, little chingaderas. It is, come on now, scientific method. 10 3/4. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to measure from this shoe, the heel of that little shoe there, to center hole. Well, now it's different. Am I stupid? 10 3/4. We're going to call that 10 3/4. This is not scientific, but I am going to write it down. 10 3/4, because I forgets. Okay, let's start cutting. So I took a drill. I just opened that hole up a little bit, took a peek in with a flashlight, and this is butt welded, and then if you look at it, it's actually not welded straight. It's gonna be tricky because I can't like put this in my lathe and make a true. I'll just get the chop saw out, see if I can get that done. So yeah, they just butt welded it, and it held. I mean, what are you gonna do, right? We'll just put it in the chop saw. I did have to build a jig because this has got the little kick out. Ouchie, ouchie, ouchie. Aye, aye. That's the tab for the engine kill if you're in gear with kickstand down, and then this is the tab for the spring, the return spring. So I built a jig so it's sat square, so I can put this back square. Why would I think that would cool down any faster by leaving it there for an extra 30 seconds? Idiot. So it's hot too. I'm gonna clean this up, clean that up, and then I'll show you. I'm gonna turn a slug, 1 3/4 slug. My fingers are burning. So I cleaned it up. It's not very thick wall pipe. I have to remember this isn't holding up a Harley Davidson. It's holding up a 350-pound bike. But every ounce of my fiber being wants to make it monstrous. I have to make sure I orient my little foot. I did pound the foot back level again so it gets a better contact, but it cracked all along here because it's pretty weak. So I'm just gonna make a new pad, not go crazy, maybe like some 1/8 inch hot rolled steel, see what I have in inventory, and then I'll build this slug, and then I'll make sure this is oriented properly so it's not a club foot. Yep, this isn't round anymore either. It looks like this one got banged around a little bit, but what are you gonna do? I'll fix it. Yes, the Horde has provided once again. So I've got this itty bitty little cutoff of 1/8 inch hot rolled steel. I'm going to drill a hole in the center, right, for the pressure relief, but I'm going to make a new foot for it, weld it on the bottom, shape it, just like reshoeing a horse. And then I found this slug in my inventory. Have no idea. Looks like it's been turned. Maybe, I don't know what it is, but the OD on this is the exact same as the OD on this. And look, the shoulder's already started. So it'll be 1 3/4 is the gap I'm going to make here, and then you got a plus 1/8 inch here, which should set that bike perfect. So I'm going to get to work on the lathe, and I'll show you what I come up with. Hey, just a few minutes on the lathe, and that's what I came up with. This one, these are all pretty tight fit, so I'm going to have to tap them in with the hammer, but this one had to be a shorter shoulder, right, because it only goes to there. And then this one will slide into here, up to here. So let me bevel these surfaces and these, and then we'll tap together, make sure this is oriented correctly, and we'll get a weld in it. I just need to figure out this. We started with 10 3/4. We want to add 1 3/4, so that's math, so that makes it 11, that makes it 12 1/2. And there to center hole. Yep. That's going to put us 12 1/2, perfect. So that gives us a plus 1 3/4, and then the 1/8 of an inch steel I'll put here will kick us up a little bit more, which I'm not too concerned about, but yeah, buddy. Okay, that's better. It's just dry fit, and I did want to just make sure the height was right and get the orientation of that foot proper. So I wanted it under its own weight. The stand is not, it's not under it. So I think we got much less gangster lean. And I think that's going to be right where that needs to go. Yeah, sweet. Oh, that's better. So much better. Oh, I got everything sanded down. The slug came out pretty good. I ground as much as the weld as I really felt like grinding, because remember, it's just a kickstand. I added the pad. I drilled a hole so it lined up with the hole in the existing. So any moisture or anything that gets inside this tube has a way out. I shaped it after I welded it. You know, I put it on square and then just kind of took a flap disc. It's good enough. It's good stuff. Let's go squirt some paint on this thing. So that's how it shakes out. The paint's still a little bit soft. I'm pretty happy with that. Pad is back flat again. Nothing a grinder and paint won't cure. I'm going to give it a few more minutes, go inside, get a bite to eat before I put the springs back on and Actually, take it for a ride. Yep. Just about 1 3/4 inches. Probably a little bit more when all was said and done after adding that foot, like straightening it out. I think it looks fantastic. Sweet. Alright, now it's just a matter of putting fuel in it, keeping the maintenance intervals up to date, and let's just ride the daylights out of it. Alright, thanks for watching. Gotta go, gotta run. See you.